Well, any moment now, we will be hearing from GOP vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance. He'll give a press conference and speak at a campaign event in South Philadelphia, his first time in Pennsylvania since President Trump selected him as his running mate. We will bring you those remarks the moment he steps out. His appearance comes ahead of the first rally with both Kamala Harris and her newly minted running mate, and it's all in the same city. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-host Emily Campagno and Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Fox News contributor and president of American Spirit Enterprises, Tammy Bruce, and former Utah Congressman and Fox News contributor, Jason Chaffetz. Well, it is a busy news afternoon as Kamala Harris has decided on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her vice presidential pick. Republicans are labeling the Harris-Walz ticket the most left-wing in American history. But Democrats like Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi disagree and say he's actually a moderate.
Tim Walz is wonderful. To characterize him as left is so unreal. It's just not what the question. He's right down the middle. He's a heartland of America Democrat.
Well, facts still matter, so let's look back at his record. Walz's first executive order as governor was to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion council. He also supported open borders.
You know, he talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory.
And he pushed socialism.
Don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Just do the damn work.
Oh, wait, and there's more. He signed an executive order protecting gender-affirming care or surgeries for minors in his state. And in 2020, he was the governor of Minnesota during the George Floyd riots that burned part of Minneapolis to the ground. It was so bad that Walz himself called out his own response.
I got a call from a friend and a dedicated public servant. Senator Torres Ray called in her district, and it was on fire. And there weren't any police there. There weren't any firefighters. There was no social control, and her constituents were locked in their house wondering what they were going to do. That is an abject failure that cannot happen. If the issue is that the state should have moved faster, yeah, that is on me.
Well, we live in a calamitous time in American history and world history, so it's not good when you have to call out your own response to a calamity as a failure. There's this odd disappearing act from Kamala Harris, Jason, where she has been erasing her progressive past to reporters on background. I no longer support Medicare for all, her team says. No longer support a jobs guarantee. Erasing it, but then you double down with your VP pick, driver's license for illegal immigrants, transgender surgery for minors, abortion till birth. That's in function what his policy is. You double down.
Yeah, and wasn't he the guy 2-3 weeks ago who emerged from the White House having spent more than an hour with Joe Biden, said, all's fine. He's great. He's in great shape. He's the right guy to go run for president. So, and for Nancy Pelosi to say he's middle of the road, I'm sorry. I served in Congress with Tim Walz. I've spent time with the man. Nice guy, but he is so far liberal left. He middle of the road for San Francisco, but not middle of the road for America. Go explain to America what you mean by, oh, yeah, I want to make sure that, you know, the state takes control over your children if they want to go change their gender when they're minors. This is the type of radical left that they are trying to paint as middle of America, and it's not.
Meanwhile, you look on paper, and someone like Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, where J.D. Vance is about to be, will take you to those remarks, where tonight Tim Walz will be. You look at Shapiro, and Shapiro outperformed Trump in 2016 by 3 points in Pennsylvania, outperformed Biden by 3 points in 2020, went on to win the gubernatorial race there by 15 points. And then when you look at the map, Harris, if you see a Kamala Harris win in Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin, that's not enough if you lose Pennsylvania and you pass over Shapiro for the radical.
Well, that's why they started here. Even though it's got to be so painfully uncomfortable, I would imagine, for Josh Shapiro to stand there and endorse this ticket in his own home state, a state that they know he must now be a huge part in delivering, but got passed over for Tim Walz, who signed legislation in February for sanctuary cities in his state. I mean, he's far left. He's far left on the issue that one of the top 2 or 3 all this election cycle that Americans said have mattered to them, illegal immigration. Immigration has been their thing. And now you wrap in the economy. Don't hear a message from her on that. Can't wait to hear what he has to say about that. You know, it probably wouldn't have mattered so much who you had as your running mate. Now it really matters. Josh Shapiro, and you've heard the reports today, and I know Senator Fetterman has just added himself to the list of people who think that Shapiro was not chosen because he would have outshined Kamala Harris. That the danger was, the political danger was that he would have been the star and she would have not. Well, why do you think Biden picked her? He gave her the hardest jobs. He sidelined her. He marginalized her, of course. Now, it was up to her as a former attorney general to step up and do those jobs. I don't know what happened. I just know that all of it was funny to her, which didn't help her case.
You know, Emily, when you look at the selection of a running mate, there was an anecdote that stuck out to me over the weekend from CNN, and it was about the time when Biden picked Kamala Harris and about a conversation he had with Obama. And I want to read you that conversation. So this was at almost the exact point in the summer of 2020 when Biden confided to Obama he was worried that given the lingering bad feelings about how Harris had attacked him during their primary debate, the two might not be able to have the same good relationship Biden remembered having with Obama. Here's where it gets funny. Obama reminded Vice President Biden that they had not gotten along well at first, and he stressed to Biden none of that was nearly as relevant as who would help him win. The word coming out of the Kamala campaign was chemistry. She wanted chemistry. Chemistry is not important if you don't win.
No, and that's why what you were just talking about I thought was so fundamental, because we sort of addressed it yesterday. And we talked about it under the vein of us thinking that it was going to be Shapiro, right? All of a sudden it's Walz. And we talked about that Kamala is known for this hubris. This, frankly, it's an anvil of a hubris. And we've had numerous anecdotes that have been supported by multiple reporting resources. She refuses to meet with heads of states' wives. She didn't like wearing sneakers on the cover. She demands a respect rather than earning it. And we talked about that in the context of this, that chemistry, would it simply be that she demanded an homage? Did she demand that someone essentially genuflect to her without, as you called it, acknowledging the strategy? And when we talked about Shapiro, we were like, oh, he's the clear winner because clearly you would have more of a chance of winning with that one, not this one. So to me, if this is true, if Fetterman's thinking is true, all this does is underscore why Kamala Harris has been a failure from the get-go, why she's had a revolving door of staffers, why no one wants to work with her, why her sexual harassment scandals at her AG's office plagued her. All of that has been washed away by the media to say, no, but she checks this box. But at the end of the day, he checks a box, which is being a vessel, an empty vessel that knee jerks to that far tail wagging the dog left. So when Biden comes out today and says, oh, this is a win for the working class, for those working Americans, no, it's not. Absolutely not. Because anyone who earns a paycheck knows how deeply disastrous the Biden-Harris administration is and how deeply disastrous the Harris-Walz administration would be.
You mentioned the far-left activists. I think it's interesting. We have J.D. Vance coming out. We'll get to you on the other side of this, Tammy. Any moment now, we'll see him take to that podium. It will be the first time he is speaking, second time speaking, but first time in a press conference format since Tim Walz was named VP. He challenged the press on the plane. He said, it's time for you guys to do your jobs. It's time for you to demand Kamala Harris take questions. He has a countdown going on social media. Today is day 16. Kamala Harris, no questions. Day 1 of Walz as the VP candidate.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.